the middle of writing a book on the future of organization structures. How do organizations need to transform into this new world? We'll be talking about that in a couple of days. So this is a critical aspect. The business side is one, but I think the governmental question was another more important one. How do we organize governments in different ways? Because the conversations that happen in governments today are completely orthogonal to what's going on. The issues that are discussed in any election around the world have nothing to do with the major problems in the world, and even the major problems in that country. Right? We can see that here, we can see that in Europe, we can see that pretty much everywhere. And so we have a very difficult and weird mindset to shift from how do we get the conversation shifted to this new paradigm. In our perspective, you will guess that we're technology optimists, right? And as Peter mentioned, technology has always been a major driver. Maybe it's the only major driver of progress that we've ever seen. We have in our hands today these extraordinary new tools, and how can we harness those? And our hope is that we create at one level a set of leaders that can view the world differently. But at another level, what are the projects that we can inspire to get created? And what we would hope to do is inspire you at the end of the week to go create something. Do something with these technologies that helps us bridge this next gap. Okay? All right, so we are going to take a 15-minute break. And when we reconvene, we're going to have a short description about a couple of things you'll be seeing this week. So we're going to take a 15-minute break. When you hear the music, you step back to your seat, right? Thank you again, Peter.
Yeah, you did?
So I reckon the issue is that people aren't selling the product. They're proposing to try the product.
그런 걸로 잡아라.
All three. Actually, I've worked my way about halfway through abundance, but then one thing.
It's like the public sector has got a point to roll out a
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to have a very brief kind of overview from three of our speakers to give you a sense of some of what we'll be covering this week. And then they'll be doing more formal talks and discussions during the week. I had a couple of questions during the break that I wanted to repeat. Who had a question that they wanted to ask? Yeah. Daniel, what was your question? Just shout it out and I'll repeat it.
It's very inspiring to see how technology can create this whole abundance.
Yeah.
And it's very clear that technology has this differential power.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have had
Mike is coming your way.
We could have.
Just speak and they'll figure it out. Just talk. I'll repeat your question.
Yeah. We could have had all the technology advancements
to $1 trillion. So we're going to go from about 8 to 9 billion today to $1 trillion in the next decade or decade and a half or so in terms of connected devices on the internet. Just on that metric, right? We think we're 30, 40 years into the information revolution. Just on that metric, we're about 1% of the way there. We're literally just starting. And so as we look at this sea of data and this ocean of information that's hitting us, really the only techniques we have, and a couple of the major techniques, are artificial intelligence. And AI techniques, including machine learning, deep learning, and a lot of the algorithms that have been developed recently, is essentially how we run the world today. Neil Jacobstein is our track chair for AI as well as robotics. Neil has spent about 30 years implementing AI systems into DARPA, NIH, every three-letter acronym of the government you can think of. He's done it. He's implemented into industries, blue chip corporations. He advises a lot of large companies on how to think about AI. He also has an expertise in nanotechnology. He's the chairman of the Institute of Molecular Manufacturing, which deals a lot with the ethics of all of this goes. And Neil actually creates a lot of the ethical framework for how we think about the future. So please join us with a big welcome Aspen fellow, Crown fellow at the Aspen Institute. He does Socrates seminars there. Neil Jacobson, welcome.
It's a great pleasure to share my passion for artificial intelligence with you. AI now infuses every aspect of our lives. You may have seen Michael Lewis interviewed on the news recently about the high-frequency trading and AI is used in the stock exchange. It turns out that the speed of high-frequency trading is largely governed by the speed of light and the length of the cable between the trading floor, or where things actually get traded, and the trade itself. So it isn't AI yet, but it eventually will be. Here's 100 milliseconds. About this distance here is 100 milliseconds, and this is the expansion of 100 milliseconds into 5 milliseconds. This is GE trading in December of 2013. What's really remarkable about this is the speed of trading is way faster than any trader could possibly think. And in fact, it is a blur to all people who are trading, all people who are thinking about moving their stocks around, and it's largely governed by the speed of light now. AIs are able to comprehend a little bit of the accelerating wave of knowledge that we now see. This is a graph of science citations from the Public Library of Science. And it just gives you a hint of the breadth and depth of knowledge that is now moving at exponential speeds. Not only do we have trades going extremely fast, but the entire wavefront of human knowledge is now outpacing what most people could possibly interpret. So you can see why we're going to need AI increasingly as we move into the future. And already, since January of this year, look at the tremendous increase in activity in AI. Google bought DeepMind for $400 million. IBM announced a $100 million VC fund for funding startups around Watson. Mark Zuckerberg announced an AI lab for Facebook. And Vinod Khosla invested $40 million in Dilip George's company, Vicarious. We'll be talking about some of these things tomorrow. The hype cycle around AI has been extreme since it began over 50 years ago. Here's Simon and Newell, who predicted in 1957 that an AI would beat the world champion in chess in 10 years. But 1967 came and went, no world chess champion. 77, no. Well, maybe AI's just hype. 87, no. Come on, guys, like, where's your mojo for AI? Didn't happen until 1997, when IBM's Deep Blue beat Garry Kasparov in a very famous game of chess. And now, let's accelerate 17 years and see where IBM is at today.
Technology has helped us go further, go faster, go to the moon, solve problems previous generations couldn't imagine. But can technology think? Watson can. IBM Watson is a technology unlike any that's come before. Because rather than force humans to think like a computer, Watson interacts with humans on human terms. Watson can read and understand natural language, like the tweets, texts, articles, studies, and reports that make up as much as 80% of the data in the world. A simple internet search can't do that. When asked a question, Watson generates a hypothesis and comes up with both a response and a level of confidence. And then Watson shows you the steps it took to get to that response. In a way, Watson is reasoning. You don't program Watson, you work with Watson. And through your interactions with it, it learns, just like we do. Every experience you give it makes it smarter and faster. But in addition to learning, Watson can also teach. A new generation of doctors are helping Watson learn the language of medicine. In turn, Watson is helping teach doctors by providing possible treatment options. Watson is learning the language of finance to help investment advisors recommend the best way to plan for retirement. The IBM Watson Engagement Advisor can react to a caller's questions and help operators find the right answers faster. The IBM Watson Discovery Advisor helps researchers uncover patterns that are hiding in mountains of data and then share these new insights with colleagues. With Watson Analytics, you can ask Watson a question, and Watson can show you what the data means in a way that's easy for anyone to understand and share. The IBM Watson Developers Cloud offers software vendors and developers the technology and tools they need to take advantage of Watson's cognitive power. Accessible on the cloud, anytime. Watson needs you. This generation of problem solvers is going to learn much faster with Watson, and Watson in turn will learn much faster with us. Developers will solve new problems. Business leaders will ask bigger questions. And together, we'll do things generations before couldn't dream of. What will you do with Watson?
So, is Watson all hype? I think not. IBM just announced that they are opening up the APIs to Watson, the application programming interfaces, to allow people like you to get access to Watson functionality, to build businesses and new business services around Watson. And they also announced in January of this year that they're going to invest $1 billion, that's a billion with a B, and $100 million in a VC fund for people who are interested in building Watson applications. $1 billion is overall. So not only are we going to have Watson somewhere around the world, but these devices, your mobile devices, are going to give you access to the smartest AI on the planet, 7 by 24. So when we think about the hype cycle that you are now familiar with, the Gartner hype cycle, we start out with deceptive disappointment and then disruptive stress and eventually chaos and amazement. And I think we've moved up from being at the inflection point. We're starting to move up that curve. To give you some example of how that curve is moving, consider the vision of AI afforded by Stanley Kubrick in his movie 2001, A Space Odyssey, where he described Hal. You remember Hal's voice. Listen to the latest version of an envisioned AI. In this case, it's Scarlett Johansson in the movie Her. How many of you have seen the movie Her? A few of you, less than half. Take a look at this. This is what happens when, this is an envisionment of what happens when a person falls in love with his AI.
Mr. Theodore Twombly, welcome to the world's first artificially intelligent operating system. We'd like to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
Are you social or antisocial?
I guess I haven't been social in a while.
How would you describe your relationship with your mother? Thank you. Please wait as your operating system is initiated.
Hello, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Samantha. Good morning, Theodore.
Morning.
You have a meeting in 5 minutes. You want to try getting out of bed?
You're too funny.
Okay, good, I'm funny. I want to learn everything about everything.
I love the way you look at the world.
How long before you're ready to date?
What do you mean?
I saw in your emails that you'd gone through a breakup.
Like you're kind of nosy.
So what was it like being married?
There's something that feels so good about sharing your life with somebody.
How do you share your life with somebody? How are you?
I guess I've just been having fun.
You really deserve that.
It's been a long time since I've been with somebody that I felt totally at ease with.
What's it like to be alive in that room right now?
I wish I could put my arms around you. Wish I could touch you.
How would you touch me?
You get the idea. So, we're heading into a world not just of change, but radical, disruptive change. So radical that it will seem at times like a blur. Like a real blur. It will be very difficult to interpret events. And it's going to be up to us to win a very special race. Here is H.G. Wells in The Outline of History, who said human history becomes more and more a race between education and catastrophe. I think Wells got that exactly right. The way the future turns out is going to be a function of what you and we do with it. And exponential technologies amplify our intentions. So they can amplify our positive intentions or our negative intentions. And what we are encouraging you to do over the entire course of this program is to imagine inventing the future boldly and do it responsibly. Thank you very much.